The road to WrestleMania just took a dramatic turn. Randy Orton won the Elimination Chamber. Cody Rhodes just fought Drew McIntyre for the SmackDown World Championship. Jacob Fatu showed up. Tables broke. Referees dropped, and by the end of the night, Cody Rhodes became a 3-time world champion. SmackDown this week wasn't just another episode. It was the night the WrestleMania main event, or at least night one, I guess, came into focus. But it was also the night that Road Dogg is the first SmackDown without Road Dogg as part of the writing team. So let's find out how well we did without Road Dogg around. Welcome back to the T-Drop Strong Brew, No Soft Behavior. This SmackDown had one massive question hanging over it. Who is Randy Orton facing at WrestleMania? Will it be Drew McIntyre or Cody Rhodes? By the end of the night, we obviously had our answer. Now, Randy opens up with a recap of Elimination Chamber. We see Randy Orton winning the match. We also see Drew McIntyre nearly coming to blows with Nick Aldis backstage after Elimination Chamber was over because they had a confrontation based on what created tonight's main event. Nick Aldis basically is fed up with the whole fact that Drew kept interfering with the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber. So because he kept breaking the vows, at least that's how they say it, he's going to break his and he's going to allow Cody Rhodes to go for his belt. And that's happening on SmackDown. So main event for SmackDown, Drew, Cody, World Championship. Who's going to WrestleMania to go against Randy Orton? Then after all that, we get Randy Orton coming out. Orton talks about WrestleMania. He says he arrived at the arena today and noticed the WrestleMania sign already hanging above the ring. Orton has competed at 20 WrestleManias, but he has only main evented 2. And that's the reality of WWE. No matter how great you are, nothing is guaranteed. Orton looks around the locker room and says he's proud to still be standing this high in the company. He doesn't know who his opponent will be at WrestleMania, but whoever it is, it ends with an RKO. Then we whoop that Trick, because Trick Williams interrupts. Trick isn't happy about Orton calling him less than 6'5". He walks into the ring, he keeps talking, he talks about his shoes, and then immediately out of nowhere, he gets hit with an RKO. Welcome to SmackDown. We then, after this segment, get a U.S. title match. Earlier in the day, Carmelo Hayes learns he has a surprise challenger. He refuses to ask who it is. The challenger ends up being Triple A's El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. This match is solid, but a little random, because we got some random person coming from Triple A showing up. Whatever. It's part of the open challenge, trying to get more eyes on Triple A, especially the night before their next show. By the way, guys, check out AAA. You can watch it on WWE YouTube channel for free. You can even watch the old episodes. Take a look when you can. It's only an hour long. Wagner comes out strong with a cannonball and missile dropkick. Hayes responds with the fadeaway. After the break, the commercial break, both men trade momentums, power bombs, near falls. But in the end, Wagner misses a moonsault. Hayes hits nothing but net and retains the United States Championship. Now, this match was good, but it's another case of Hayes beating a challenger who likely isn't sticking around. And that makes it harder to invest on the outcome. Now, why is that? Why are we not getting a more permanent? Because maybe this backstage segment is what's going to explain it. Backstage, we get a strange mix of segments. The more important one is Ilya Dragunov, who refuses to accept an open challenge because he says he hasn't been enough of a warrior lately. The Miz mocks him. Kit Wilson jumps in and calling Miz toxic. Meanwhile, Damian Priest learns that he's competing tonight in a tag team Turmoil with R-Truth, which somehow makes sense in WWE logic. I don't know why. I guess it's because they don't have nothing else for them, and this is where you're going. Congrats! We get next a women's tag division setup. The new women's tag team champions, the Irresistible Forces, come to the ring to celebrate. They have a new theme, they have a new visuals, everything. I guess they're not breaking up anytime soon. This is permanent, guys, for a long time. They brag about their victory and they say they're ready to face anyone. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss obviously interrupts. Bliss jokes that Nia Jax finally found someone's coattails to ride to the top. Then Julia and Kiana James appear. They all get bickering. It's such a weird segment because the gap between Charlotte and Alexa doing their statement, there's a hard pause, and then they finally come out. It was like an awkward pause, like they didn't time it right. And then there was another one for Nick Aldis. It was a series of miscues, and I don't know whose fault that is, but there were some miscues that if it showed the awkwardness. But anyway, Nick Aldis settled things the only way he knows how is with a tag match. So after the commercial and when we come back, we get a tag match between Charlotte and Bliss against Julia and Kiana James. The match was surprisingly strong. Charlotte and Bliss work well as a team, going at it, girls. Julia and Kiana James continue to develop the chemistry as a duo. Charlotte hits a moonsault for a near fall. Julia answers with a suplex, but eventually Bliss hits a running DDT. Charlotte follows with a natural selection to win. It's another step forward, what could easily become a WrestleMania title match. And honestly, a ladder match wouldn't surprise anyone at this point. So, watch. Maybe we'll get our first ladies ladder tag match. I don't think they've done one yet. We go backstage and Cody Rhodes says he wants to point at the sign. And that means winning the title back tonight. Sami Zayn comes up and says it's crazy that Rhodes has a title match. Now, he goes into words. He basically Rhodes asks Sami what's crazy about what his thoughts are. And then, well, he brings up that Rhodes didn't win the Elimination Chamber and he's still getting a title shot, while Zayn, isn't getting one. Now, Rhodes thinks Zayn is trying to ask for a future title shot from him when he hasn't even won yet. But Zayn is stating it's not what he's doing. He wants Rhodes to become a champion again. But that's it. I mean, we're getting this whole Sami wishes to be champion and he has this sadness tour. It doesn't mean he's turning heel. Maybe he is. Or maybe Cody eventually will turn heel and maybe Zayn will be the hero to go against him. I don't know. Maybe it's something post-WrestleMania between these two once the Rhodes and Orton match thing is done. But we will see. We get tag team Turmoil, who determines the next challenger for the tag titles in SmackDown. Motor City Machine Guns start the match against Fraxium. The action's good, but here's the issue. Many of these tag teams haven't been doing much lately, at least in SmackDown. And when WWE doesn't treat teams like they matter, it becomes harder for fans to care about them in a 25-minute gauntlet match. And you can see it by the way they're reacting in this match. The noise and everything. It says everything. Also, the ticket price says that too, but we're going to go with the fans' reaction. Eventually, the final two teams are Los Garza and the unlikely pairing of Damian Priest and R-Truth. Truth even comes out dressed like John Cena. The match ends with Priest hitting the South of Haven, while Truth lands the Attitude Adjustment. Priest and Truth get the win. Might be the most chaotic tag team partnership of the year. I hope this match that they're talking about happens at WrestleMania and not on the SmackDown before WrestleMania. But we will see. We get another segment with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn goes up to Randy Orton and asks how Cody Rhodes is okay with Orton dropping him with an RKO. Orton says you have to be selfish occasionally. Zayn asks him what it takes to make him what makes him a bad person. Like he was being honest, like, you've been a bad person. What makes you Orton a bad person? But he reacts saying it's just his desire to win. It's his desire to be number 15 now. His evil or him being a bad person is what made him a 14-time world champion. And he suggested Sami that sometimes you need to listen to the voices in your head. With Orton gone, you have Sami thinking about it. And then you see Aleister Black and Zayn coming in to say that's just the nature of the beast. We will see what this leads to, but it probably won't be much until probably post-Mania, but we will see. Now, we get an interesting segment between Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Rhea Ripley comes to the ring, but she makes it very clear she isn't here for la-di-da. She calls out, she calls out Jade. She basically says Ripley has heard what Jade Cargill was been saying, and she obviously has something to say, so she asks her to come to face her. Jade walks out and weirdly offers her a handshake. Jade says she respects the work that Ripley has put in, but she isn't impressed. Ripley has big arms and legs, but Cargill's are better, which is a weird thing to say. She's more worthy to be champion, and Ripley can do nothing about the beating that is coming for her at WrestleMania. Ripley appreciates the honesty, but she says, and this is I think the most exact thing she said on SmackDown. Cargo's body is built for show, while Ripley's is built for fighting. There's nothing Cargo can do about what Ripley has in mind at WrestleMania because Ripley is that B. Now, this isn't the most explosive promo, but it does exactly what it needs to do and hopefully sets up a decent WrestleMania collision. Hopefully it continues because we need more of this. Anyway, the sadness of the night goes to Johnny Gargano because this is potentially the last big time we see Johnny Gargano. Gargano's been louching around as a stiff board throughout the weeks, upset that his boy Tommaso Ciampa is gone and he's in better ways in AEW. So I guess he's still reflecting on that. But something happened in a backstage segment that he comes out, he snaps, he wakes up, and he comes into the ring and says, it's time for everyone, including himself, to remember that he is Johnny Wrestling. And that he's going to have an open challenge for anyone to come challenge him. Obviously, we know who's coming. Obafemi answers it. This match lasts about as long as you would expect. I thought it was going to last 2 minutes. It actually ended up being a little over a minute. A few running uppercuts and a fall from grace to end it. Obafemi continues to look unstoppable. The question is, who is he looking unstoppable for? We'll find out. We get the second Danhausen segment of the night. Backstage, we get a strange but entertaining moment. Danhausen asks Nick Aldis to put him into the Hall of Fame. So once again, he's going after his Demandhausens, hoping he'll get more answers on SmackDown. He asks him to give him a mentor and maybe his own TV show. Aldis instead assigns Miz to deal with him. He asks Miz, hey, I have someone that you can train or you can mentor. Miz being excited, he turns around and it's Danhausen. Now, Aldis assigns Miz to deal with him. Miz doesn't seem impressed. He doesn't really want to deal with him. But Danhausen pretty much threatens the Miz that he can curse him. And he goes near his ear and reminds him what happened to Dominic Mysterio on Monday. And he freaks out. But by the time he turns around, Danhausen vanishes. Because that's Danhausen for you. And yes, it was one of the most interesting things that happened on SmackDown. Maybe WWE knows what they're doing with him. Then this moves to the main event. After a long-ass show, we finally get to the main event. Drew McIntyre defends the SmackDown World Championship against Cody Rhodes. The match starts as wild brawl in the aisle, the fight through the crowd. And this is weird. It's supposed to be a regular match and all this is happening. People are getting thrown through tables, the barricade fight, the crowd, and this is a regular match. Yet if this happened back in another match, it will be disqualification. But for some reason, this is okay when it deals with Cody. And this is part of the reason people were pissed about this match. Because a lot of things that could have gotten DQ'd in the favor of McIntyre, it didn't happen. So it was obvious from then that you knew no matter what, Cody was winning this. It wasn't even a surprise anymore. It was obvious. It was obvious since last week, but this just nailed it. McIntyre even powerbombed Cody through a table at ringside. Inside the ring, the near falls start piling up. Claymore, Crossroads, Superplex, another Claymore, another Crossroads. Referees get knocked down. Then chaos just takes over. Then Jacob Fatu appears. He stops McIntyre from using a chair. The distraction gives Cody the opening. Cody Cutter, Crossroads, 1, 2, 3. And we got a new champ. Cody Rhodes wins the SmackDown World Championship. At no surprise. Now, many people were hoping for a fatal four-way between maybe them two, Randy, and Jacob Fatu. At least it seemed that way. But yes, they've been given hints throughout the past year or so of Randy looking at Cody's title, showing hints that he may want that title. Yes, little fragments drop, and we're going to probably get that discussed at the next SmackDown between the two. But it was such a forced win. Now, Drew won it before because it was part of the storyline that they needed to end it. They needed to end that storyline between the two, or at least continue it or make it interesting or whatever. And eventually, Cody had to lose. So Cody did lose. He lost on the first SmackDown in January. And he lost the title. Gave Drew a run for the past 2 months. And then he takes the title back. The way they see it, Cody versus Orton will sell. They had little implements of that story already in the weaves. But it wasn't the original story, apparently, for WrestleMania for Cody. And we'll discuss that in another video. But it felt too forced. It just became out of nowhere. Let's do it. But anyway, it was probably one of the weakest episodes of SmackDown this year so far. Not because of the segments, but because it barely delivered what it needed to do comparison to Raw. We could have had better setups, but we instead got barely some storytelling happening. We got a weak setup between Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Maybe they'll go harder next week. We don't know what's happening in the tag belt division for the men. We don't know what's going on with the women's US. We don't know what's going to happen with the US men's title, unless it is really Ilya Dragunov who's going to challenge Carmelo for it. But it's not feeling like momentum is happening. They're like going on gear 1 when they should be on gear 3 by now, like Raw. And Raw is not doing any better either. But anyway, that's the T-drop. Strong Brew, no soft behavior. Let me know in the comments what you think of this Raw. Could have they done better? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.